Meister workbench, and certainly bonefish don't really know much about going off the deep end.
No,
and
I don't know much about bonefish either. Well, although the first one I caught was with you. Thank you for that, at Chub Key. Probably on one of those little trigger X's, I think.
Absolutely.
But bonefish, they're just a stout little fish. They're known for their speed. You know, everybody talks about how fast that first initial run is, and that's what everybody gets jazzed about when they go chasing a bonefish, because he's up in that real shallow water, so he's skittish already, and you're trying to find him and spot him, so it's a really challenging fish to catch. Much like the permit is probably the most challenging on the flat, the bonefish is right there next to him. He's probably the second. And anything on the flat is going to be a little hard to catch, because he's up in that real shallow water, and he's worried about birds above and really fast barracudas, so those fish have to be able to move out, and the bonefish can move like nobody else, you know, especially once they get over 5 pounds, then they really start to move out.
You're right.
So I thought we'd do this like we did about the tarpon last time, seeing how you make your living catching these things.
Okay.
For the regular fellow who is coming to the Keys to go bone fishing, what would be the best months to try to target them?
The best months, Dave, because obviously cold fronts in January and February, not so much. But March, if we have a warm March is certainly a good time. April's a good time, May. Then as we get into those hot months, it's either early or late in the evening in June and July and in August. As September, second week of September, October, it's good again until it gets really cold. So I'm going to say the fall and the spring are the best time.
And you want to avoid the winds, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right. What are the, Randy said you really have to worry about the conditions. What are the perfect conditions that you're looking for when you pull up to a flat? What do you want to see?
That's a great question, because a lot of guys don't get into that depth of thinking. But I got to say, when I find that you have an incoming tide with an east wind, you have tide and wind going in the same direction. What that simply does, Dave, is that magnifies the current. Now remember, a bonefish loves to feed by smell. So the more the current, like a shark, the more the current, the better the bonefish can smell. So when you have tide and wind going together, that's going to be the perfect
Draws
conditions.
all that stuff down to his piggy little snout.
And allows him to make a better living.
Okay, so let's say you're out there and you find a flat and you got the right current and you're out there. What are you looking for? Because I do a lot of offshore fishing, and there's a blue marlin 500 pounds behind the bait, and I'm trying to, he's there, and the guy can't see him. Same thing for me when I'm on the flats trying to find the bonefish, and the guy's saying, he's right there. I can't see the dang thing.
Well, if the water's shallow, then certainly you're going to be looking for tails. Right. But in most cases, if the water's over 12 to 14 inches in depth, you might not have tailing conditions. It's harder to see them when it's windy. So then you're going to look for muds. And the mud that a bonefish makes is not as dense as a mud that a stingray would make. So the great way to understand what that mud looks like is you look at what the push pole makes as the guy's poling. Take a look after he pulls the pole up. You'll see that little puff. That's what a bonefish mud looks like. A puff, and then another puff, and then another puff. And if you can connect the dots, that's what it's going to look like.
And you try to get out in front of those puffs.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any really good spots, like in the Keys, I go down there every once in a while, that you could actually think you get a shot at just wading off into the
Well, certainly
areas?
You have Long Key Park, you have, which is the Long Key Campground. That's a great place, Sandy Bottom. You have Lower Matacumbe Key and Isla Mirada, another place where you can get out and right off of US 1 there. You have Bay of Honda State Park. A lot of the state parks allow us to have unconditional wading things where you're not getting interfered with by boats or whatnot. So those are the places, sandy bottom places, really work well.
And those are good spots, those ones you just mentioned. All right, if you're out there throwing a fly, what is your favorite go-to fly? What's the one you're going to have on first thing?
Well, I mean, certainly it depends on the color of the bottom, but we're going to try to match the hatch. If it's more than 2 feet of water, I like throwing, this is called the red-headed stepchild. It's a Mark Croca deal.
I can relate.
But as you can see, it kind of has a little bit of a burnt color, so it matches a lot of that tan-colored bottoms that we like to fish on. I really like that, and a chartreuse and white clouser minnow. I really like a lot of the crab patterns. It's whatever the guide's personal choice is.
Throw what the guide says, too.
Absolutely, whatever your guide says.
All right.
And that was really fun. I appreciate that.
It's easy.